Welcome to the Solar Rights Alliance podcast, where we help you defend the freedom and independence of rooftop solar. I'm Dave.
And I'm Cailey, and we're here to tell you about the threats to rooftop solar and put the power back in your hands so that you have the tools to fight back.
Well, let's jump right into it with This Week in Rooftop Solar. Cailey, what's been happening this week?
Yeah, so what's happening right now, Dave, is a red alert issue. Governor Newsom's administration has proposed to break your solar contract, cut your solar credit, and slap on a solar tax. And this would happen for any solar customer who went solar before April of 2023. So this is a red alert issue. And right now it's just a proposal, but we need to make sure it stays that way. And in order to make that happen, we need the legislature to know that this is dead on arrival. They should not put it in a bill. They should not slip it into the budget. This is a third rail they should not touch, a bright red line that we will fight to defend.
Yeah, this sure sounds like a red alert. The contract that you're referring to is called an interconnection agreement. And every customer of PG&E, Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric signs this with their utility. The contract is mandated by the state government. In many cases, they have written it. And the terms of the contract say that they are for 20 years, which is the length of a solar warranty. And customers have spent, in many cases, tens of thousands of dollars. They invested their own money based on the terms of this contract. And presumably, many people would not have invested that money into putting solar panels on their rooftop if they had known that the state was just going to cavalierly just break that contract or wasn't serious with it.
Absolutely.
And you can bet your bottom dollar that if this goes forward, which I sure hope it won't, we're going to fight to make sure it doesn't, that no consumer in California will ever again believe the state for anything or sign up for anything that the state wants it to do.
Absolutely. And I mean, why would they, right? Why would anyone trust that any contract that the state signs would ever be upheld if they are willing to break 2 million contracts now? Yeah,
right,
absolutely right.
And so, I mean, what the hell do you think the Newsom administration's justification is for this proposal? I mean, it seems to me like they're just lying about rooftop solar to cover their butts.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So electricity rates in the state of California are high because of increased monopoly utility spending. Monopoly utilities get a guaranteed rate of return on all those poles and wires that they love to build, and then they pass that through to us in the rates, and our rates rise. And so they have to have a scapegoat to distract attention away from the fact that it is their increased spending that is causing rates to rise. And so they are pointing the finger at rooftop solar, a convenient scapegoat, because the more rooftop solar we have, the fewer poles and wires we need. And the Newsom administration is going right along with that lie, with that scapegoating, because Newsom himself has taken $2.5 million from the utilities and their allies. And it's worth noting, he is not alone in that. The utilities have showered the state of California with more than $1 billion. That's billion with a B, $1 billion over the past 20 years in political donations to sitting legislators, to academics, to nonprofits, to businesses, just showering the state with millions of dollars to get their way. And so the utilities want to continue to keep that gravy train going. It sure looks like the Newsom administration wants to keep that going too. And who loses out? Us, the ratepayers.
And so here we are, where the Newsom administration, in order to cover their butts and avoid having to actually tackle the root cause of high electricity rates and challenge the utilities with their flagrant and excessive spending, instead, they're scapegoating rooftop solar customers, they're lying about rooftop solar, and they're proposing to break 2 million solar contracts that the state and the utilities have signed with these consumers. We're going to actually talk to rooftop solar customers from around the state, and we're going to ask them how this proposal, if it goes through, how it would impact them, and we're really excited to do that.
All right, so our first guest is Dwight from Simi Valley, California. Welcome, Dwight. Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you went solar?
I'm a father of 5, and I'm a business coach. I work from home. I went solar, I guess, back in 2018 because it made more sense for me to purchase a solar system than what I was paying. And now I'm 100% self-powered most of the time.
Nice. Very cool. So you are supposed to get 20 years on your current net metering program, and they're proposing to break that contract and to slap you with a solar tax. And so I just love to know, if Newsom or your utility were here in the room, what would you say to them?
My question would be is, what's the goal? What is your goal for cutting off people that you have an agreement with already, a 20-year agreement, and it's worked very well? And when you look at how alternative energy is the future, and it's almost no cost to it, why would you want to deter that from happening to facilitate utility companies that are going to be primarily, still to this day, fossil fuel based, and slow down the movement to a much less expensive alternative energy that is free and non-polluting? What would be the goal and the purpose for doing that? The only thing that I could think of would be there's some benefit for you personally or someone you're connected to.
And boy, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, one of the things that we've been talking about a lot today is the fact that the utilities have showered the state of California with millions and millions and millions of dollars in political giving, donations to academics, nonprofits, businesses, and $2.5 million to Governor Newsom himself. And then we see the California Public Utility Commission, all 5 of 5 have been appointed by Newsom, making decision after decision to undermine rooftop solar and to put forward instead the utilities and utility profits.
Well, that's the other question. California, up until this point, really until last year, I guess, we were leading most of the world in this change to alternative energy. And we were looked up as something special at the top of the hill, the shining light. And now you want to take us in the opposite direction. It doesn't make sense on multiple levels. One is a monetary level. It's going to cost people, it's already expensive in California. Why would you want to make it more expensive to be here? Because the utility absolutely will do that. But on another level, the companies that come to California because we're leaders in that area bring revenue here because we're doing things that no one else is doing. In addition to that, if you look at what's happening outside of not only California, but the United States, they're continuing to develop and embracing this. So they're going to get so far ahead of us. Not only is it cheaper for the consumer, but it's cheaper for the utility company because they're getting the power at cheaper and cheaper rates. And more consumers are doing it, so there's no shortages. So I don't see anything, honestly, that is a benefit to doing that other than being a benefit to those that are corrupt.
Oh, beautifully, powerfully said, Dwight. And I want to just also, underline something you said there, which is that rooftop solar is a benefit to the entire grid.
I turn on my solar panels and I get power from the sun at zero cost for that energy that comes from the sun. It costs me to capture it, but it costs me nothing to receive it. In other words, for it to be presented to me. Whether I capture it or not is up to me. But here's all this free energy. Do you want to capture it or not? And Gavin Newsom is saying, don't capture that. Don't do it. Don't get that free energy. Let's drill. Let's pollute. Let's do the things that are sending us backwards. Don't do the free stuff. And don't do the stuff that will help every single citizen in the state.
When you put it that way, it's just amazing, right? The sun is there, washing energy down on every square inch of California. So why in the world would you discourage people from harnessing that?
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
It's free energy. All you need to do is get this thing and capture it. And you can give it to the old grid that is still in existence to service everybody else at a fraction of the cost.
Yes,
And
exactly. And you
let's not
invested
do
in
that.
Yeah.
Let's not do that? Why? Why wouldn't you do it other than corruption? Let's go backwards because we can make more money if we do. Or at least the corrupt can.
Goosebumps, Dwight. I got goosebumps here. Guys. Just total goosebumps. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Oh man.
To me, it's clear that it would advance us as a state so much further than everyone else, and would be monetarily beneficial in, I would say, 10 different ways, because everybody's going to come to us for what they're doing in California. I hear people. My wife's from New Zealand. I hear people in Australia, New Zealand, China talk about California. They don't talk about the United States as such. They talk about California, the state.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're developing things there, battery storage and all these things, this is huge. This is absolutely huge. It's a turning point for mankind. Not just the people in California, but for human existence. And it's how we get to the next level. And don't let greed stop that from happening.
May the legislature listen to you, Dwight.
I write to them.
Yeah.
I do
Good,
write to
great.
them.
Keep doing that. Please keep doing that.
Please, yeah. Everybody's gotta.
Okay.
Thank you, Dwight. Oh, you rock. And we'll have to do this again sometime
That was
soon.
awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
Well, good luck.
Thanks,
I'm
man.
glad you're doing this. It's great. I'm glad
Thank
to
you.
help.
We're getting the word
All
out
right.
there. Thanks, Dwight. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Our next guest is Bruce from Sunnyvale, California. Bruce has done a lot of work to raise the visibility of these issues with his church and with houses of worship in his neighborhood and in his town. And so, Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Why does rooftop solar matter to you?
We put a larger panel system that's about 22 to 24 panels on the office roof about, when was that, 2018? It was the NEM2. Oh, right before COVID. It was 2019. And I had to kind of arm twist to persuade my board, because that was a fairly chunky investment to put in. I had to run some math for them and so forth, and like, okay, well, we have some funds sitting here, let's try it. And we've been ecstatic, of course, with how that's worked out, even though it's NEM2 rather than NEM1. What was electric bills running, I think, $600 plus per month for that section of the church campus has dropped to maybe $50 or $60 a month. And so whenever you have these, solar taxes, or let's gang up on rooftop solar people because we seem to hate them, I don't know why. There's a lot of nonprofits that have barely break-even budgets that are going to suffer because suddenly, we made an agreement with the state of California that things were going to be a certain way, and then suddenly you come in and increase a nonprofit's electric bill by whatever, $100 a month or $400 a month. I don't know how much it's going to be. You never know till these things hit the bill. When you suddenly alter the deal, it makes a big difference, not just for the residential customer, but for nonprofit organizations. When you do this to churches, you're taxing Alcoholics Anonymous, you're taxing an anti-racist group, you're taxing all of the different groups. You're taxing Unitarians, right? So all of these groups that we provide free or very, very low cost space. When you do that to our overall budget, what are we supposed to do? So, right, this all kind of passes through and causes a lot of pain downstream. And people don't really realize that with these policy changes that are saying, oh, let's go get the solar people because we're going to scapegoat them for, much larger problems that the utilities have caused.
Absolutely. So well said. And so let me just ask you, Bruce, if you had Governor Newsom or PG&E here in the room with you, what would you say to them?
We keep getting scapegoated and attacked even though we're doing the right thing and we're on our best behavior. And so if you put me in the room with either, a PG&E or with Newsom, yeah, I can be upset, but that's like kind of putting a victim in the room with their oppressor and saying, now you just talk it out. I'm sure if we just come together, we give you 20 minutes in a room together and you'll come to a nice handshake agreement. And the answer is, no, we won't, we can't. Newsom, what the hell's wrong with you? I mean, it was a Republican governor who gave us 1 million solar rooftops under Schwarzenegger, and that succeeded. And now it is under a Democratic governor whose California Public Utilities Commission has basically single-handedly demolished the rooftop solar industry in the state of California. And I believe that's tens of thousands of jobs that have been lost. I mean, you look at the numbers, and of course, Solar Rights Alliance has those numbers. It literally falls right off this cliff the moment those NEM3 rates rolled out. So I'm certainly not going to be voting for him for any future office. I feel betrayed.
Bruce, we hear from so many people. Yeah, we hear from so many people who feel like they did the right thing. And now they're just being punished by their own governor, by their own state administration for doing the very thing that California needs, both for, our wallets, also for our lives, and of course for our rates, because we desperately need rates to be lower, and rooftop solar is part of the solution, not the problem.
Right. If you make a promise to Californians that says, we're going to give you NEM1 or we're going to give you NEM2, and that lasts for 20 years, and then suddenly you come in 8 or 9 years later, and for us it's been 9 years, you're breaking trust for future deals. Because if you're doing this now to people who went and invested a lot in rooftop solar, and then you backstab them 6 or 7 or 8 years later, why should we trust any sort of agreement that's made with the California consumer in the future, whether it's environmental or it's any kind of investment or do something at the consumer level? Everyone's going to say, well, we remember what you did to rooftop solar, 7 years after. It literally is the Darth Vader meme, right? If we know the I am altering the deal, pray I do not alter it any farther. You can imagine James Earl Jones saying that. And that is what has happened. And the thing is, it keeps coming. It's like, it's not just this fixed charge, which, as I understand, is now baked and is going to start hitting my bill in a couple of months. I'm hearing, we're going to impose a per panel tax on having solar panels on my roof. It's the wrong direction for California. It's the wrong direction for all of us, and it's the wrong direction for America, and the wrong direction for the planet. So it's just wrong-headed all around.
I think very nicely said, Bruce. I hope that our legislators listen to you and to all the other solar customers who are saying many of the same things to them.
And we're so grateful that you took time out of your day to speak with us today. Thank you. Our next guest is Ramon from Madera, California. And Ramon, if I'm remembering correctly, you're a veteran who's lived in the Central Valley for years, and you have rooftop solar, and we're so glad you're here with us today.
Yeah, so Ramon, the Newsom Administration is now proposing to break your solar contract and cut the credit that you get for the extra energy you give back to the grid, and then also charge you a new solar tax on top of that. This has not gone into effect yet, but it has just been proposed.
I think it's unfair for the NEM1 and NEM2 to be penalized for anything. Just because some of us, decided to go solar a long time ago, there's no way they should take the few benefits that we still have for having solar. I mean, we are helping the grid. I mean, we're not doing anything, that's illegal. We're just harnessing the power of the sun. That's it.
I remember I've heard you say that before, Ramon, and it's kind of stuck with me. Like, we're not doing anything illegal. We're just using the power of the sun. I mean, that seems so obvious.
It's good for the for the state. It helps everybody go green. The sun comes out every day, just about. So then having solar on your rooftop is a no-brainer. It's smart. It's the best way to go.
Okay, yeah. So just something you said, Ramon, is so I have solar too. I put what felt like a lot of money, to put solar panels on my roof, and I definitely was paying attention to my contract that I was going to be able to. The terms and conditions were for 20 years, and it's just crazy to me that they could just so cavalierly. Like, I probably wouldn't have gone. I don't know if I would have gone solar if I had known that that contract that the state thought it wasn't serious about signing it. I mean, what do you think you would have done if you had known?
It weighs very heavily, and I do not understand why they're trying to, like you said, mess with these contracts that we're locked into, supposedly. I mean, from the beginning of civilization, they worship the sun. And to this day, the sun is still there. It grows crops. It provides sunlight, heat. I mean, and now we're harnessing its power. So, I don't agree with this, the administration. This is something that's going to hurt every individual, especially like I'm thinking about retiring already.
Right. And I think I heard you say, like, PG&E, their
going to keep
costs
going
never
up.
they never go down. They only go up. And so
Yes.
anything that just allows a retiree to have predictable, right.
And I've heard you say too, Ramon, just back for a moment
No.
on your comment about the sun, that nobody owns the sun.
And it's there. Its power is there. I mean, it's a unlimited power supply. It's a battery that hopefully will never go dead. I mean, it's energy, and we're able to harness it and use it, and we're able to put some of that power back to the grid. I don't see no reason why we should be penalized for to try to be conservative.
Yeah, I totally agree. Rooftop solar is just like energy efficiency, and rooftop solar consumers shouldn't be punished for conserving energy. Thank you so much for being on the show here with us today. All right, so our next guest here is Jonathan. And Jonathan, among other things, teaches local students in his area how to design and install solar systems, is also a solar customer and has a bunch of other things in his background. Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we'd love to have you. And why does rooftop solar matter to you?
The reason we did it is to have independence from the grid. That's why we use battery backup for emergency purposes. In case the grid was unstable or went down, we wanted to do something that was clean and helped the air quality. Every one of the things that make solar a good choice is why we made the choice.
You kind of said a bunch of things. You said independence. You said cleaning up the air. I'm not hearing too many things that are bad. So it is, I am struck yet again, and not for the first time, at how crazy it seems that then our governor and his administration are essentially scapegoating you and slandering you and the 2 million other solar customers and saying, you're the reason, you're the problem, your Y rates are so high, you did the wrong thing, we now need to punish you.
Yeah.
It's such a split screen,
I know. I totally agree. Completely boggles my mind how they're just continuing down that path. When it is such a good thing, everything about rooftop solar is good. There is nothing bad about it.
Nothing. Literally nothing.
There is nothing. Yet they continue down the path to penalize the people who do it. So does not make sense.
And I'd love to know, Jonathan, if, you said that it's exactly right. They penalize the people who do it. And so if Governor Newsom or your utility were here in this room with us, I'd love to know what you'd have to say to them.
I would ask why he is giving in without a fight for the people. Why he would do that. Why he would not fight for the people. Because there is nothing that the people are doing that is wrong.
Right. And rooftop solar users are just everyday people. I mean, 60% of all rooftop solar users are middle and working class. 53% are people of color. Like, this is who the Newsom administration and the utilities are targeting as their scapegoat.
Yeah, I totally agree. An interesting addition to that, not only the solar tax, which is why we're talking today, but we looked at our bill for last month. There is a delivery charge on there for $70. And we don't use much electricity. But they have two line items. One was for the electricity used, and then there was another line item for delivery charge, which I'm guessing is their power lines.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
$70 for that.
Right.
And I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I mean, that's the fraud, is that the electricity rates in California are through the roof because of delivery, because of poles and wires. It's how the utilities make their money, and it's also what's driving up rates. and you can see it on your bill. Anyone can see it on their bill.
Yeah.
That's what's going on. And then you have all these people like you who have put your own money in the hat to put a power plant on your roof to reduce the need for those poles and wires. And then here we are. You spoke, I believe, at a rally, if I remember this right. Mm-hmm. And can you just say a little bit about just why you chose to do that? I mean, most people wouldn't, take that step, but we always say it's very consequential to talk to your legislators, to talk to your representatives, sending an email, making a phone call, and in your case, you made a reasonably big trip up to the Capitol. Like, what moved you to do that?
Well, I really believe in the power of the one person to make a difference. I really think that is true. I know there were a lot of people there, and that's great because there were a lot of ones there, a lot of one peoples that were there. And that was awesome. That is really the only way to get people going, is to get them together and to talk about the problems and get people motivated.
Well, I thank you for that. Obviously I agree with you. And I will say it's my very strong opinion that the reason why we have been able to prevent a solar tax from happening up to this point, the reason why we have been able to protect the 2 million contracts that solar customers have signed up to this point has been because there's a lot of people like you who value their voice and see it as worthwhile to use. And so I sure hope that people, take seriously what you just said, because I really do believe it is true and it makes a big difference.
I really want to say thank you too for all the
Thank
time
you.
and energy and effort that you and everyone else, on this podcast and everyone else who's acting out there in California and calling their legislators and, writing to their local papers. It matters. And so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're welcome. I mean, I hope there are more people that are listening to this. I hope there are more people that feel motivated. I know there's a lot of people that have rooftop solar. And I know there's a lot of people that like it. I hope they become motivated to speak up because they really need to.
Me too.
Amen.
Yes. Agreed.
Well, we're psyched to be doing this with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
That was awesome. A big thank you to our guests for coming on and sharing their thoughts and experiences today. I really enjoyed listening to these guests, Cailey. These guys were just great.
Oh, so fantastic and so wonderful to get to hear perspectives from all over the state of California and from folks who use solar in lots of different ways and for lots of different reasons.
Yeah, that's right. We always say at the Solar Rights Alliance that solar consumers are heroes. They're heroes for themselves, their families, their communities, and for the entire state. And that's evident just from listening to the folks on the show today.
So true, Dave. So true. So now it's time for Solar Heroes, where we give a shout out to an awesome Solar Rights Alliance member. So Dave, who is our solar hero for this episode?
The solar hero for this episode is Susanna, who did some great leadership in organizing the No Love for PG&E event that we coordinated around Valentine's Day. And Cailey, you were there on site, right?
Yeah, I sure was. So PG&E's CEO had sent out a letter to all of their customers blaming anyone who reduced their energy usage in any way for high rates. Let me just say that again. PG&E's CEO blamed their customers who reduced their energy usage for high rates. And she had the audacity to sign that letter with love, just in advance of Valentine's Day. So Susanna and a series of other volunteers got together at a local farmers market in Berkeley and had a No Love for PG&E event where there were these broken-hearted cookies that had a QR code that people could sign to take action to tell PG&E what they thought of this terrible letter and this horrible accusation, as well as a big old black box where they could write un-Valentine's Day notes to PG&E and then send them off.
Yeah, that black box was really cool. I mean, it was big and it had like broken hearts on it. And then people were like writing little notes and stuffing them in the box. And then Susanna and some other volunteers then drove it over to the PG&E headquarters. Yep. And then what was really great was that then that event was covered by local TV. So NBC, CBS, ABC, there was a local newspaper that covered it. She did some interviews. And the reason why that's important is because then when we get on TV, then millions of people hear our side of the story and learn what's going on and are then catalyzed to act. And so, Susanna, thank you so much for what you did there. Thank you to the volunteers who helped with that. No doubt we are going to feature a couple of you for your excellent work on a future episode, as well as all the other amazing folks. And really, to all of you rooftop solar customers who are speaking out and defending your right, thank you for what you do. It really does make a difference, and you should be darn proud of yourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, folks. As John said earlier, it is the power of the one, and the one over and over again.
Yeah, I love
speaking
that. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely love it. So thank you so much for all that you do.
Our best chance of stopping the Newsom administration's proposal to break your solar contract is to make it dead on arrival in the legislature. And here at the Solar Rights Alliance, we believe that you are your own best advocate. And so, Cailey, what can people out there, Californians, do to make sure that we protect rooftop solar contracts and allow people to defend their investment?
Well, folks, your legislators need to hear from you, and they need to hear from you now. So please write to them, call them, and share this message with everybody you know on social media, on email, with your neighbor in the Home Depot parking lot. Make sure that people know that this threat is happening and that they need to take action against it. We've developed a toolkit to help you take all of those actions on our website. You can go to solarrights.org/don'tbreakthecontract-action. Again, that's solarrights.org/don'tbreakthecontract-action. Thank you so much for joining us today. We've heard from solar users across the state of California about what it would look like if Governor Newsom's administration were to break the contracts of the existing 2 million rooftop solar users across the state. We've heard from real folks about what that impact would feel like and look like and what they have to say about this issue, and we hope that you join them by telling your legislators what you think about this problem.
Thanks for tuning in to the Solar Rights Alliance podcast, where we're putting the power back in your hands and helping you defend the freedom and independence of rooftop solar. That's all for now. Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.